In this video, I want to talk about the bus options for tours in the Killarney area. Of course, you have the standard HoHo hop-on, hop-off bus, which goes at your standard HoHo rate of about 14 euros a day. Now, it says it's a 24-hour pass, but the HoHo bus in Killarney only runs from 9 to 5, which means it's an 8-hour pass. The HoHo bus also only appears to go to Muckross Abbey, Muckross House, and the Torque Waterfall. And I think the Torque Waterfall, though it's a nice waterfall, it's not that nice, okay? So, yeah. In fact, because it was so late, I was able to walk. I got up and left at 7, walked down to Muckross and back before the buses started running. So, is it worth it? Yeah, only if you don't want to walk that far. Or you could ride a bicycle. There's a really nice path all the way down from downtown Killarney along the edge of the national park so that you can get there by bicycle. It was just pretty cool. There's some nice views of the lake from the park, and I got to see the sunrise from there, so it was actually pretty cool. But I don't know. I think that's one of the least valuable HoHo tours. Now, as for their other tours, so I got a 20% discount through Expedia to use the Paddywagon tour, which made it, I guess, an acceptable value. Here are the pros of that tour. The pros are you don't have to do any of the driving, rent a car, pay for petrol. Then you don't have to drive that road. It drives in one direction from the north to the south. It's a winding, bending, slow-moving road that's over some very difficult terrain. So it was nice to have somebody driving who knew what they were doing and didn't have, because I would have had to pay attention to the road the whole damn time. So it's probably cheaper to take the tour than to drive it yourself when you factor in everything else. And I think that's what the tour buses are based on, is there's a lot of people who don't want to rent a car. It's a long drive. I think it's a 120-mile round trip. So it's a really long, and it takes 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, depending on how many people are in your bus. Other pros, you get to see some stuff that you would otherwise not see in that area. And theoretically, if the weather's good, you can see the backside of Killarney National Park. Now, the weather was bad for me, so the tour guide's like, if you look there and it wasn't raining, you could see the tallest mountain in Ireland. Well, all I could see was sheets of rain. So, other pro, there's a narrator, so you know what you're going by. So as you go through the different areas, you know what the significance is of the towns. You know what you're looking at. You know whose houses those are. You know there's an old Iron Age ruin on the Ring of Kerry that is actually kind of cool. You don't get very close to it, but if I didn't know that, I might not have seen it unless I was intentionally looking for it on the map. So it's down the Loherstone Fort, Loher. I didn't see the one at Steigu. I think that was too far from the road for us to see. So there was some narration that was good and useful, but really it's only, and we learned about the Skag Islands, one of which is called Scariff. So you'll notice a lot of stuff from Star Wars is Irish. Scariff is from Rogue One. And the Skag Islands is where they filmed Luke Skywalker. So that's a limited tour. Because it's a special site, there are a limited number of people allowed to even go out there because people were stealing rocks and taking them home. So he showed us where that would launch from if we cared, which I didn't. But we skipped a lot of towns that I think might have been more interesting. So here's the cons. It looks like it's mostly a commercial partnership between the tour company and the places where you stop. So we did not stop in Killarney, which I think is an interesting town that we didn't see. That's where the Puck Festival is. We just drove through it. He talked about it, and then we kept going. We stopped at the Kerry Bog Village Museum, which was cool to see. But it's clearly a way to drive business to the Kerry Bog Village and to the business right next to it where he hyped the Irish coffees. I don't drink liquor, so it doesn't tempt me at all. We stopped at a viewpoint to look at the Dingle Peninsula, but because it was so rainy, we couldn't see the peninsula or Inch Beach. And so, of course, as we drove away, it cleared because, that's how it works. And then we stopped in Waterville, which is a ramshackle, ran-down town. Right in the middle of town is this ginormous hotel that has been dilapidated and abandoned for who knows how long. So it's this big eyesore right in the center of town. And of course, it was to coincide with lunch so that they could park us right outside a particular restaurant and drum up business for a restaurant in a town that I think is dying. Because there's a big Charlie Chaplin statue there, and it says there's a beach, but it's one of the rockiest beaches I've ever seen. I did see a rainbow there, but it was offshore, so I didn't swim out to find the pot of gold. So it was kind of underwhelming, put it that way. He didn't talk at all about the Ater Kua Stone Row. He did talk about the one stone fort. He didn't mention the other one. Then we stopped in Sneem. I'm not sure why we stopped there. I think it was because he has to take breaks. So we stopped there, went to a Quills store, which was the same. He did not mention, Woman and I went to a place called the Pyramids, which is a sculpture of representing the birthplace of the fairies. So that was kind of cool to see. And there were some kayakers in the River Sneem, which was kind of cool to see. But that was away from where we stopped. And the town is this rinky-dink village that looks like it's seen better days. Then there's a place called they called it Black Valley, probably because it's near Blackwater Pier, Blackwater Bridge. It's the last place in Ireland to get electricity. He didn't say anything about the Dromore Castle Gate, nor did we stop there, which might have been interesting. And we went to the Torque Waterfall, which, okay, is great. It was underwhelming, okay? And then back. So I felt it was a good value because I got a discount. I felt it was a good value because I didn't have to drive, because that made it cheaper than it would have been if I'd done it myself. But it did take almost all day. And I got to see some small towns, but I don't know that it's a super great value. I actually liked Limerick more than Killarney, and if I'd known that before I went, I would have spent more time in Limerick. All the ruins in Killarney National Park are things destroyed by Oliver Cromwell. The castle in Limerick was built by the Normans, so it wasn't destroyed by Cromwell. So there's more to see there that's perhaps of interest. There's a nice cathedral there in Limerick, but this is supposed to be about Killarney. So the Killarney tours are good if you want to get out of Killarney. If you want to see the Ring of Kerry, it's the cheapest and most efficient way to do it. It will take you, however, all day, and they will try to drive you to places where they can drum up business. The Quills we stopped at outside of in Sneem had the same prices as the ones in Limerick. I knew that, so I just went ahead and bought stuff. That way I didn't have to worry about if the other one was open when I got back into town, because I wanted to buy some particular wool goods for my mother, because she's the Irish side of the family. So you take your pick. There are other tour companies that do it, but I think they basically have the same or very similar schedule and stopping. And so if you can get it, if you want to do it, get it for the cheapest price possible. I think mine was 35 euros, which is pretty expensive, but 35 euros for the day, someone to drive he told a lot of personal stories, which, okay, is interesting and maybe relevant. And he bragged at one point, I've climbed all the mountains here. And I'm like, yeah, the tallest mountain in Ireland is lower elevation than where I'm sitting right now. Okay. And my mountain up here is 12,000 feet. So 4,000 meters, almost three times the height of the tallest mountain in Ireland. So yeah, not impressed. But if I lived there, I would do that too. I did learn one other really interesting thing about him, or about Ireland from him. He's a County Kerry guy. His wife is from County Cork. And there was some concern about marrying a girl from another county. So Irish people apparently are more concerned with what county you're from than anything else. And as a non-Irishman, it made me wonder if I would be even considered acceptable to date an Irish girl, because I'm from County Clark, which is not even in Ireland. So I don't even know if Ireland has a County Clark. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Killarney's bus tours. I mentioned them by name. This is not to slander any of them or to drive tourism there. It's to help you make a better decision when you make your own trip there. Anyway, Godspeed, and be safe in your travels.